Wow. So many graves. Where do I start? Maybe I'll go to this one first. Oh, before that, hey everyone, thanks for coming. We're going to have a lesson today about what is in the title of the video. We're going to be learning about how to say since doing something, like it's been a year since doing something or anything like that. We'll get started with the lesson at 2 o'clock. Right now you are early to the stream and just in time for a short Q&A. You can ask me any questions, as well as I have some announcements to give before we get started. Just want to say welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. And let's see who is already in the chat. Jordy Kroon and Joe Turner. Welcome to both of you. Secretive, hey Secretive. Secretive in blue is my moderator here, so don't say anything mean or you might get banned. I didn't have a catchy punchline to that. That's pretty much all there is. Yeah, there's nothing else we can do. Hey, welcome everyone. Let me know where you are right now. I'm curious, where's everyone watching from? It's been a while since we've had a live stream. I was away in Korea filming lots of videos. Every time I go to Korea, which is like 4 months every year, 3 to 4 months every year, during that time I don't do live streams, and the longest break is about 3 months or so when I'm in my summer trip in Korea. I was gone from May until just a couple weeks ago, actually, less than 2 weeks ago. I got back home. And yeah, it was a really long and productive trip, and I have a lot of new videos coming. Some of them you've already seen, like my interview videos. Those I filmed a couple months ago. I'm uploading those now. So many videos coming up. So those for the next like 3 months will be videos that I filmed in Korea during this trip. Costa Rica, Sweden, Trinidad, Canada. Nice. Tijuana. I've been meaning to go down there someday. I heard that I can just park in San Diego and take a bus over there. And I'm tempted to get street tacos. I heard they're really good. My younger brother has gone there and told me so. Israel. New Zealand. Welcome. Got a Kiwi in here. Jamaica. Nice. Texas. Arizona. Goodness, it is hot right now, isn't it? The UK. Pakistan. Algeria. Salt Lake City. Tulsa, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. Tulsa. Morocco, Kosovo. Everyone, welcome. So yes, you are early. We're just hanging out. Just hanging out. 네덜란드에서 보고 있어요. But I will go to Korea in 2 weeks. Wow, you're going to Korea in 2 weeks. Actually, an old family friend of mine who I've known since he was a baby, literally, since he was first born as a baby. I remember him. Been a family friend for my entire life. He's actually going to be going to Korea, I believe, in a couple days as well. So I know a few people that are actually going to Korea very soon. It's exciting. Philippines, Ecuador, India, Orlando. Goodness, it is humid over there. Iraq. Wow. Again, another New Zealander. New Zealand. Daytona Beach. Nice. I would love to visit New Zealand sometime. That's on my short list of places that I would like to visit besides Korea. Korea is always at the top. I go to Korea all the time. I like being in Korea. I'm used to it. Comfortable there. But other places that I would really, really love to visit, that would be awesome if I could. One of them would be Hawaii. I don't know why. Just, eat Hawaiian food and eat luau food and really just eat food. That's really what I'm trying to get at. I'm just going there to eat the food. And the second place I would go to would be New Zealand because they have hobbits there, right? That's what I heard. Everyone's telling me that. There better be. But I think it would be awesome to visit there. There's so much beautiful scenery. I could bring my camera, take a bunch of photos, and drain my bank account all at the same time. So it really sounds wonderful, but that's my second pick for the place that I'd like to go, right after Hawaii. Auckland, New Zealand. Nice, another person from New Zealand. I'm moving to Seoul in 8 weeks to live there. Awesome. That's so cool. You say you're from Belarus. No one knows where it is. I don't know where it is. But I can pretend I know where it is just for today. Oh, Belarus. Yeah. It's that country way over there. That's awesome. Yeah, they have all that, all the history and all that culture and all those people. Yeah. Belarus. Of course I know that. Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Zandria says, okay, here we've got a question here, an actual question. I hear actual conversations with native speakers are the best. They are the best. Though I'm wondering if I should spend most of my time with casual conversations or keep listening to formal conversations. What is your goal for Korean mainly? I would focus on that. For me, I just like talking with people, so I wouldn't focus specifically on trying to listen to casual conversations or formal conversations. I would just talk with anyone. So I would talk with old people. I would talk with people who are my same age, people who are younger than me, and just get a good mix of that. If you could only pick one, I would focus on more formal conversation because that's useful for everyone. Strangers, even some dating couples use formal. By formal, I don't mean formal. I mean not casual. So informal, like the yo form. Even some dating couples will speak more politely with each other. It's useful in pretty much every situation except for your best friends. And casual speech is so easy to make if you're already okay with making regular informal and formal speech. So I would focus on informal and formal. So the you form, honorifics, things like that first. And then you can do casual speech really easily. Hello from the Bay Area. Nice, glass artist. My older sister was living up there. She moved down recently, closer to me. But I think I've only been to North California like once in my entire life. We did a tour there. We went to the old Chinatown, the pier, the overpriced pier, and got some overpriced seafood. But it tasted okay. We had, go across the Golden Gate Bridge, all that stuff, Lombard Street. Of course, stopping for Denny's for Thanksgiving, absolutely memorable experience in San Francisco. It's Thanksgiving, you gotta eat Thanksgiving food, but you're not at home. So what do? Well, Denny's had Thanksgiving food. And I remember I was a kid. I remember the waitress wasn't busy. There was no one there because, of course, it's Thanksgiving. Who's gonna go to a Denny's on Thanksgiving? And the waitress is like, no one else here. And I remember my mom's like, hey, you want to sit down with us? So she sat down and hung out with us and talked. That was a really memorable experience. My most memorable experience in North California was at a Denny's. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, we still have about 12 minutes left before we start the actual lesson. Now I'm just rambling. I have a few announcements I'll make really quick. First is the worksheet for today's live stream is available right now on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member, make sure to get that. It has an additional 10 sentences using the form that we're doing today, but at a higher level than what we're going to be covering today. So if you're someone who wants to go more in depth into every topic that we cover, the worksheets are for you. Also, the outlines for every live stream are available on Patreon as well, including this one, which will go up as soon as the lesson is finished today. So the outlines, like this one, have all of the explanations, all of the grammar forms, bolded, all of the sentences that we do and all the answers, explanations, translations, additional notes, everything that we talk about in the live stream in order is on these outlines. And again, they are all available on Patreon as well. And that is for the $1 tier. So any amount that you support at, you get access to those. Of course, you don't need the outlines or the worksheets to follow along with these live streams. They're free. You can always write down the sentences yourself. This is just to help you be lazy. To help you get more out of these live streams. Other announcements are, if you are a member of this channel, of which many of you are, I see many people, your name is green in the chat. If you are a channel member, you also get access to watch these live stream abridged videos, the edited version of all of these live streams, the same night that they finish. So after today's live stream, if you're a channel member, you can go on the channel and watch this live stream abridged down to like 10 minutes. Let's just say that 10, 15 minutes usually they are. And that's for members only. Everyone else can watch them later in the week, usually Wednesday or Thursday. Tends to be Wednesday. Another announcement is, if you are not already a member, Lauren, Bay Area, that's just your name. It's your name and where you are from. I'll change my name to Billy, Los Angeles. There is an active Discord server. I say active. If you join the general chat, you might think there's not many people there. Check out the individual channels. You see there actually is a lot going on, especially in the Korean questions channel. There's a book club that goes on, I think, once a week almost, and they read through Korean books and translate them, like simple Korean books, and you read along, and they do that. It's also free, open. You can ask questions there. You can share K-pop videos if you want in the music channel. Anyway, check that out. It's completely free and open for everyone learning Korean. Another announcement is, I already have it pinned to the chat. Not sure which direction. This direction, right? This direction, I think. Yeah. You can see on the chat, there is a hoodie and there's a bunch of new merchandise. If you want to show off your love of this YouTube channel or just learning Korean in general, there's some stuff for you, so you can check that out. Some of the stuff is specifically related to me or this channel, like something with KiCat on it or me on it, and other stuff is simply just more general related to Korean. A couple of things I also have as well. I have like a tote bag and I have a t-shirt. Anyway, some of it's pretty cool. I shouldn't say that. All of it's really cool. Check that out. That's just one more way to support me if you're interested in that. Another announcement. This is a big announcement. Big announcement. These live streams are going to still continue as usual, but the schedule for the live streams is going to slightly change. Not the time, not the day. Normally, we would do, I'll just say what it's changing to. We're going to be doing 2 live streams in a row. So Sunday followed by another one on Sunday at the same time as always. And then there will be 1 week of a break. So this will be the new schedule just for the time being while I'm trying to edit a massive amount of videos that I have from Korea. So I need a lot of time to edit. So it's going to be 2 live streams followed by 1 break day. If you're ever curious about the live stream schedule, if you ever want to know, Billy, is there a live stream coming up? When's the next live? Is there a live on this day, a live on that day? Check the Google document. It will always be updated there. So I posted a link. It'll show up in a second to the right there to the Google document. You can bookmark that, and it shows at the very bottom. You can always see the current schedule and the next coming 2 dates. So if you're ever wondering, is there a live stream this week or next week? Check there. It will always be there. I always update that whenever I'm doing live stream preparation. That is all the announcements. So let me go back to the chat just for a few minutes before we start our lesson. Let's see here. CM Lida, Krisu, Kurisu. Is it better to be a YouTube member or a Patreon member? I don't know the difference. Good question. They are different. So you have to do both. Well, they're different. It depends on what you'd like to do. YouTube memberships, you get to watch the live streams, abridged, the edited versions, the same night that they come out. So if you are a member, you can log on this channel tonight, usually 3-4 hours after the live stream has finished, and watch the edited version of this lesson and all of the lessons, but you can watch it right when it finishes, whereas everyone else has to wait until Wednesdays. So that's one benefit. Members also get their names in green, of course. That's really don't really need to say anything else besides that. That's good enough, right? Your name's green, so you become like Shrek. You also get a icon next to your name, so no one else gets an icon next to your name, and your icon will update. Right now, it looks like you are a Charsu, so that's pretty high rank for the YouTube members. And you get to use the YouTube, the little icons that I have specifically for my channel. So there are many little icons that only members can use. Also, members sometimes get access to stuff early. So if you check the community tab on YouTube, you get to see, sometimes I'll post like outtakes occasionally, or behind the scenes pictures, or I'll just make a poll and I'll ask members first. Some stuff like that also is extra for members of YouTube. Patreon, however, is different. Patreon is just more of a general, I want to support Billy. The $1 tier in Patreon gets you, or any tier, gets you access to all of the outlines and worksheets for every single live stream. That's for Patreon members. Then there are different tiers in Patreon. So the higher tier, like the $5 tier, you can get my personal Anki deck, which has like thousands of words that I have curated myself around Korea. And I update that maybe once a year. So I'll do another update of that probably in a few months. The $10 tier gets to access the PDFs of the Learn Korean lesson weeks or months before they go up. That's very well in advance. I'm still working on some of the lessons. I think they're already available on Patreon though now. And then there's a $25 tier for people who really have money to burn and really want to support me. And that's a tier where you get everything else, but you also get to watch my videos early, usually about a week earlier than everyone else. So those people have already access to view the next interview video I did, which is going next Friday. They were watching the video I did with Hyunwoo a few days earlier. Yeah, so that's just another thing for Patreon. And I do have a few special Patreon members who do support me at that level. Okay, so that's a summary of everything. Jordy Kroon. Yes, those icons, the dabbing. Samantha Johnson. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you're out there, though, and you're wondering, do I have to support Billy to watch these? No. If you're feeling bad for not paying me money, no, please don't. I love that you are here, and I am doing all of this for free. So really, it's not an expectation. If you can, it's wonderful. If you can't, I'm just happy that you're here. So please don't feel bad if you're not supporting me. But for everyone who does support me, huge thank you for your support, because you do help me to keep making these videos and do everything that I'm doing. Hey, we got a new member, Lisa. That's how you pronounce it. I'm not accepting any corrections to that. Lisa. Got a new member. Awesome. So you get you get me in a cap for the first month of membership for your little icon. And it'll change each month. Okay, let me check the chat. We can just chat for a couple minutes and then we'll start right at 2 o'clock. I started a little earlier today because we had some announcements and it's been a while. I missed you guys, so. Our Moonchild, hey. Alita Baker, do you offer private or small classes? I don't currently. I used to have one-on-one classes available, but I stopped it due to my hugely busy schedule. I got busy making the Politeness levels course and editing a ton of videos, so I had to stop it. I didn't have time to do it. I might start it up again, but with a different price what's the way to say that? Levels. So I'll have to think about that. What schedule can I do it and what pricing could I do it that would still be affordable? But yeah, someday I'd like to do that again. If I do, I will make an announcement, but currently no. Zandria Waters. Yeah, no issue. No problem with that. I still appreciate it. Bonnie Rumsfeld. I love the Politeness level course. Thank you. Oh, that's another thing I didn't say. If you are a YouTube member, you also get to watch. Now it's getting close to being finished now already, but you also get to watch the entire Master Politeness levels course. You can watch it right now. If you see the 24 episode course, I think I uploaded the 21st episode recently. Well, you can watch 23, 22, 23, and 24 right now. In fact, members have been able to do that since I think I uploaded episode like 8 or something. It's been up for a while, but you can still watch it in advance. That's another thing for members. And anytime I make a course in the future, I will also try to make it available to members in advance, just like this. Carrie! I saw the board flashing a bunch and I see this red text and I'm like, is that Carrie? Is it going to be Carrie? And I look down and it's Carrie. Wow. Every time I shout Carrie, I keep thinking of Carrie Fisher in Star Wars. After Luke comes home after exploding the Death Star. I almost said Darth Star. What is the Darth Star? And he yells out, Carrie! It sounds like he says Carrie. I think he just says hey, but it sounds like Carrie. 고빌리 선생님, 여행을 안전하게 와서 기뻐요. 한국에 가면 스포츠 경기를 보러 갑니까? 야구? I originally wrote a video idea to go see a baseball game this was for 2020. I was planning on meeting up with a couple other YouTubers and we would go to a Korean baseball game and I would, show going into it, buying the ticket, sitting down, watching it. Of course, not showing the whole game, but just showing the experience of going to a baseball game in Korea. Because in Korea, baseball is serious. They have tons of really passionate fans. It's a big deal. It's affordable, just like it is in the US. So it's it's a fun experience and I haven't gotten to do it in Korea yet, although I know what it's like. And I wanted to do a video about it, but I couldn't just because of everything that happened. So that's still on my list to do. So I will do that someday. I haven't seen any sports games lately, but yes, I would like to go to see specifically a baseball game sometime soon. Thank you so much. I'm going to do 50 dabs really quick, and then I'm going to get started with the lesson. Needed some exercise. Okay, so let's get started with the lesson. The prerequisites you need to know before you start this lesson are as follows. You want to be able to make adjectives from action verbs. So you want to be able to not just say a green shirt, but a person who wears a shirt. 셔츠를 입는 사람. If that kind of makes sense, you've heard of those things, you're good with this. You want to know how to say the past tense. So I ran, I walked there, I went there, I ate it. 먹었어요. Not just 먹어요, but 먹었어요. Ooh, I'm out of breath from those dabs. Whew. And then finally, you want to be familiar. This eraser's, I think this eraser is dying. Okay, the other thing you want to know is how to do time. So counting days. Can you say 3 years? Can you say 2 days? Can you say 1 hour? If you're good with all these, then you are completely ready for this lesson today. If not, feel free to follow along. You can review these topics in any of my other videos. I have other lessons, multiple lessons about each of those topics. Okay. Whew. Oh, tired from all those dabs. It's a good workout. Okay. So, I'm going to write the form out first. I encourage you to write down the form and follow along. And I have a few sentences I'm going to have you make during this lesson as well, as usual. And then, actually, let me write it down lower so that way it's easier to copy. Okay. This form is quite long, so that's why I'm writing it down first. Okay. So the form we're going to be learning today is how to say, since something has happened, it has been a certain amount of time. For example, it's been a year since I saw a baseball game. It's actually been like probably 20 years. So this form means, again, time has passed since action verb happens. Now this can be action verb happening or someone doing the action verb, but basically since the action verb happens, an amount of time has passed. And the way it works is that you take an action verb stem. So if you have 하다, the stem would just be ha. Then you have to change it into the past tense adjective form. So that's important. Usually that's simple. You take the stem and you attach un if it ends in a consonant or a nian if it ends in a vowel. But there are some verbs that are exceptions, of course. If you have a verb stem that ends with a lir, then you remove it and then you simply attach a nian. So if you have the verb 살다, to live, well, that would become 산지, like that. You should be familiar with this form. I mean, you should be familiar with how to change action verbs into adjectives again before this lesson. But if not, just at least keep this in mind. Consonant would be attaching un. If the stem ends in a vowel, you'll attach a nian. And then you'll attach a space. Notice there is a space. This form is not the same as the form that has G like this, but without a space. That is a different form. That can mean whether or if. And I have a full lesson all about all of those meanings you can watch on my channel in the live streams playlist. So this form has a space. Now, you might see a lot of people writing it incorrectly without a space. Just know that this form is supposed to have a space in it. It's a different form. Another thing you should know is that, okay, so next thing you do is you attach an amount of time. So this could be 1 year, 1 day, a week, a month, hours, minutes, anything like that. It could even be a long time. It can be anything like that. Then you'll attach the subject marker, which is optional. So that would be E after a consonant or ka after a vowel. Finally, you attach the verb 되다, meaning to become, and you conjugate that into the past tense. That's a very long form. So let me give you a couple really quick conjugation examples. If you have the verb 하다, it would become 한지. 먹다, to eat, will become 먹은. 지. 팔다, to sell. Sorry, I wrote that. It's all real weird. Let me rewrite that. 팔다, to sell, would become 판. 지. Like that. And this is the exact same conjugation as when you would change an action verb into an adjective in the past tense. Okay. Let's take a second to write that down. Let's check the chat. Do you need to say the space for people to not get confused? I see what you're saying. It's a good question. No, it will be pronounced the same as if there isn't a space. 잘못, 잘못. It could be, yeah, you could say it like that with a space. But if you're saying it quickly, you're not going to hear the space anyway. But here, no, it's simply said straightforward. Space is only when you're writing it. Okay, I'm going to erase this and we're going to continue. Okay, one more thing though. One more thing. This G here means time from when some action happens until now. So the time from when this action verb happens until now is what it means, literally. This is just a literal look at this form. So you don't need this if you're seeing this form for the first time. This is for people who already know the form and want to review, want something more. So let's look at this form in a literal sense. So action verb stem, past tense form. So literally, the time since this action verb happened, past tense. So now we up to here we have the time since this action verb happened, past tense 되다, became. So it was, let's just say 3 hours. So it was 3 hours since this action happened. That's literally what this form means if you put in 3 hours and you put in just happens as the action verb. So 하다 or something else like that. So 한지 3시간이 됐어요. So since someone did something, 3 hours passed. 3 hours became. It was 3 hours. Literally, that's what this form means. If you don't keep that in mind, just keep in mind that the 지 means the time from when something just keep in mind that the 지 means the time from when some action happens or someone does the action until now. So that's what 지 means by itself. This part by itself means that. Now, one more thing I should say. The verb here, 되다, is not the only verb that you can use. It is the most commonly used verb that you'll see with this form, but there are a few other forms that are also quite common. There are a few other verbs that you'll see, and one of them also is very common. The first one I'll say is 넘다. 넘다 means to be more than. So if you want to say it's been more than a year since I ate a marker, you would use 넘다. Note that you will still use it in the past tense. So that would be 넘었어요, for example, or you can see other conjugations. Just note that it will still be in the past tense. So 되다, 되었어요, or 됐어요. 넘다, to be more than, 넘었어요. 넘었어요, for example. But that's not it. So you have 되다, 넘다, but there are two more that you might see. The first is 지나다. Now 지나다 just means to pass. So this would be like saying 3 years has passed since I broke my desk. I didn't break, I sold it, but I did have a glass desk that I was getting so nervous about it breaking that even though it worked perfectly, it was great, I didn't need a new desk. I just had to get rid of it. I couldn't risk it breaking over my carpeted floor. So yeah, this one is just to pass. So that's like saying 3 years has passed. Now the form it's used in is the exact same. You still do action verb with 지 and time, and then you simply change the verb at the end of the form from 되다 to 넘다 or 지나다, depending on what you want to say. Now, overall, they're all going to be the same general meaning, but they do have a different nuance. Do you want to simply say it was or it has been a year? Or do you want to say it's been over a year? Or do you want to say a year has passed? There's one more also. This one is the least common, but you'll still see it. This one kind of has a little bit more of a literary feel to it. 흐르다. 흐르다 normally means to flow, like a river flows. You can also say 시간이 흐르다, like time flows, literally, but it means goes by. So like time goes by. So you can say 2 years has gone by since I last saw her. Sounds a little bit more fancy. You'll see it sometimes, 흐르다. And again, this would be in the past tense. You would say 흘렀어요, past, went by, the time went by. So the time went by. And the form, again, is the exact same. So these are the 4 most common verbs that you want to know for this form. If you only learn one, though, just focus on 되다. So if this is your first time ever learning this form, just focus on 되다. If it's your second time learning the form, then learn 넘다, then 지나다, and then 흐르다. Again, this is the order in which you'll see them in the most frequency. Mostly it's just going to be 되다. 넘다 is pretty common too. 지나다 sometimes. 흐르다 less common, but all of them are fine. And in general, you can use all 4 of them. If you switch any of these in any sentence, the sentence will still be fine. It'll still make sense. The only one that slightly has a different meaning is this one, which is 넘다, to be more than. Okay. That's really all that we have to talk about for this form. Let's do our first sentence. I'm going to give you one sentence, and after that, I'm going to have you translate some on your own. But the first one I'm going to give you, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I want to give you one example of this form. Okay. But if you want to challenge yourself, go ahead and try it. The sentence is, it's been 17 years since I started studying Korean. It actually has been over 17 years. I started in 2005 in the early, officially, I guess, in the early summer, like what, May or something, April, May, around there. I don't remember. So it's been over 17 years. But anyway, it's been 17 years since I started studying Korean. I'm going to write the sentence up here. Now, for this one, you would have to know this form, 시작하다, in order to complete the sentence, which is a different form, like to start doing something, is the verb stem, 기, and then 시작하다 means to start or begin. So that means to start doing something. So literally, begin studying Korean. Oops, let's write this down here for more space. 7년이 됐어요. I'm going to look at the chat, see if anyone attempted that. Hey, Amanda S., welcome. Let's see. 공부하기 시작한 지 17년. Wow, Mary Lara. Wow, you got it. You even added the 17년이나? Like, it's been like even 17 years. Yeah. 넘었어요. It's been over 17 years. 배우기 시작한 지. Yeah, that's nice. 한국어 배우기 also works too, since I started learning Korean. Works perfect too. 공부를 시작한 지. Since I started Korean studies. That also works, Jordy. That also works. Since I started my Korean studies. Yeah. 지 17년이 됐어요. Okay, I am shocked. I am shook that several people got the sentence already. I didn't even give you any hints. Awesome. Okay, well, the next one I'm going to give you some hints. You'll get to translate the next one for yourself. So the first one is 제가 한국어를 공부하기 시작한 지 17년이 됐어요. So I 한국어, Korean, 공부하다, study. 공부하기 시작하다, literally to start studying. So yeah, to start studying. 공부하기 시작한 지, so 시작한 지, since the time that I started studying Korean, how much time has passed? 17년, 17 years. 됐어요. So it has been, 됐어요, 17 years since I started studying Korean. So you could translate that as, it's been 17 years since I started studying Korean, or you could even just translate it as, I started studying Korean 17 years ago. Both of those are fine. Although this form literally translates as since, we don't really say since as much as you would use this form in Korean. In English, we don't say since that often. I think it can be more natural to translate this in a different way. So feel free to translate it differently. You don't have to translate it with the word since, because like I said, it might not be the most natural way in English. But in Korean, this is the most natural way to say that. So you might say, oh yeah, I started 17 years ago in English. And you could say in Korean, 17년 전에 시작했어요. I started 17 years ago. It's a different connotation though in English and Korean. In English, when you say, yeah, I started, 17 years ago, what you're trying to say is it's been 17 years. Whereas in Korean, if you say 17 years ago I started, it sounds like you're trying to describe something that happened 17 years ago instead of versus what you're talking about right now. So it's just a little bit of a difference in how Koreans and English speakers express themselves. So just keep that in mind. Feel free to translate it differently to make it natural in English when you do that. Okay, so it's been 17 years since I started studying Korean. 제가 한국어를 공부하기 시작한 지 17년이 됐어요. This sentence, I want you to translate it completely on your own. I'm not going to give you any help. I want you to make this sentence. It's been 1 year since we met. It's been 1 year. It's been 1 year since we met. Now, this is not a trick question. It's really that's it. It's been 1 year. Now, this is obviously going to be 되다. If you want to be fancy, actually no, I'll give you a different sentence with 넘다 later. First is just with 되다. So it's been 1 year since we've met. I want you to make this sentence. Jordy, 저 한국어 공부를... Oh, that's right. I already read that sentence. I should look down at the chat. Paulina, Carolina, for me it's been 1 year. Still proud though. Yeah, I was once a beginner. I once could have said that exact same sentence. I've been studying Korean for a year now. Oh, Sue Amazing. I'm gonna pause the lesson for a second. Sue Amazing has a good question. If it was 한국어를 공부한 지 17년이 됐어요. The meaning does kind of change. And we're going to talk about that when I go to the advanced notes for this lesson. But I'll give you a taste of that. This form can be vague. This form can be a bit vague if it's not clear. If it's not perfectly clear what you're saying, the form's meaning can be understood different ways. So if you say 공부한지, it could mean since I started studying it, or since I studied it but I don't anymore. Like, yeah, I studied Korean and it's been 17 years since then. So it could be a bit vague. So it makes sense. It's okay. You'll see that in grammar textbooks, that sentence, but you won't hear it used by actual Koreans as much because they will tend to speak more clearly when they use this form and not leave it kind of vague like that. Because when you say it's been 17 years since I started Korean, it's not vague what you mean. Since I started. Yeah, I started 17 years ago. So obviously I'm still doing it now, but maybe not, but it's going to be clear that if you're saying the sentence in Korean, it means you are. It could be a bit vague if you say 공부한지 simply by itself, but it also works. And we're going to talk about that later in the advanced notes of this lesson. I'm going to talk about how it's used for things that are still happening or things that aren't. So I would recommend saying it's been 17 years since I started learning Korean and not since I studied Korean. So try to think of it more in terms of English, actually, in this case. If you would say started in English, I would add that to the Korean sentence to make sure it's really clear. But yeah, it's not wrong again. Okay, let's check out some of your sentences. Gianna had the first sentence, Oh, you have a typo there, but that's okay. 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. Very nice, Gianna. Very nice. First attempt and correct. Again, except for the 만나다 spelling, which is just a typo. Correct sentence. Mary Laura, 우리가 만난 지... You have 만나지. Another typo. Please make sure to add in that space. Other than that, great sentence. Moonchild, 우리 만난 지... Okay, a few other people have typos for the... I see a couple other people as well. Danny as well. I have some typos for the 만나다 verb. Oh, I see you did fix it a little below there, Mary. Apologies, I see you fixed it there. you caught that before I did. Yeah, so 만난 지 1년 됐어요. Yes, very nice, Danny. Lily's Journey. Bonnie, 우리 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. Nice. 우리가 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. 우리는 만난 지 1년이 되었어요. Nice, Jordy. 만난 지 1년이 되었어요. I'm just gonna scan through them really quick so I can read them quickly. Carrie, small typo as well, Carrie. What's up with the verb 만나다? That tricks a lot of people. No worries. Perfect sentence though, Carrie. Just get on that typo. There's a missing neon there. The neon's sad that you forgot about it. 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. Nice. X-user, you wrote out 1년. That's great. 1년이 됐어요. 우리 만난 지 방탄. 만난, you're missing the neon at the bottom of 만나다. So it would be 만난 to conjugate it correctly. 만나나나나나. Is that a song? I have a feeling it must be some song or something. Mary Laura, would be a difference between 우리는, 우리가? Yes, just like there would be anytime you use the subject marker. You want to say, yeah, for us, well, it's been a year since we have seen each other. Versus, it's been a year since we've seen each other, if you use the subject marker. That's the only difference. And there will be times when you would use one or the other. Neither of them is more accurate. It just depends on what situation you're thinking of in your head. So both of them are fine. What if you're going around a room and saying, let us know, all these couples here, tell us how long it's been since you've met. You would say, 우리는 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. As for us, well, it's been a year since we met. Because it's like, well, it's been a year for us. Like you're emphasizing us. But if it's, you're just talking about yourselves already, and they're like, how long has it been since you met? 우리가 만난 지, you don't even need to say 우리가 because it's apparent, but let's just say you do. 우리가 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. It's been a year since we met. You don't need to say, well, it's been a year since we met because the person just asked you already. Like they know you're talking about you. So yeah, that's the major difference, is just what nuance. And that's the thing with the topic marker and the subject marker, is it's usually just a nuance issue. Okay, so let me write down the answer, which many of you did get. Again, you can say 우리가 or 우리는. So they write it down here. Okay. 우리가 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. So, we, 만나다, to meet. So since the time of us meeting, it has been 1 year. 우리가 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. It's been 1 year since we've met. Now, here's a question that you can just think about. So that's what it means. It's been a year since we met. If I say this sentence to you in English, it's been a year since we met. Does that mean you're still meeting that person, or does that mean you haven't seen him in a year? Think about that. In English, this is an English question. The reason I'm telling you to think about this in English is because it's the exact same in Korean. They have the exact same problem in Korean with something being vague. Did I see something flash? No. It's the same problem in Korean with things being vague. If I say, yeah, it's been a year since I met him, does that mean you're still meeting that person? Or does it mean you haven't seen him in a year? Now, we can clarify this in English. You can say different things in English, right? You can say, well, I haven't seen him in a year, which is clear. Or it's been a year since we started hanging out. Then it means you probably still are, right? So just think about that. This is just a thing to think about right now because we're going to be coming back to it later in the advanced notes. It's just kind of interesting. You don't have to stress about this. It's the exact same in English. We have the same problem in English. Okay, next sentence. This one I'm going to give you, and then the next one I want you to write again. This is a really common sentence that you should memorize. 한국에 온지. 한국에 온지. You should memorize this expression right here. And I'm going to tell you another important word you should know. 한국에 온지 얼마나 됐어요? 한국, Korea, 오다, to come, so to come here. Since you've come here to Korea. So, since the time that you came here to Korea, 얼마나. 얼마나 is the time word that you're going to use when you're asking questions. And it means how long? As in, how long has it been? 얼마나, and then you would ask it as a question. 됐어요? 얼마나 됐어요? How long has it been? In fact, you could even just ask someone, 얼마나 됐어요? How long has it been? If it's clear what you're talking about. 한국에 온지 얼마나 됐어요? So literally, how long has it been since you came here to Korea? This is how Koreans will ask you, how long have you been in Korea? How long have you been here? The way they say that is 한국에 온지. How long has it been since you've come here? Since you've came here. I can't speak English. I'm a Korean teacher, not an English teacher, okay? 한국에 온지 얼마나 됐어요? How long have you been here? How long has it been since you came here to Korea? So, memorize this part. 한국에 온지, because this is how you can ask the question as well as you're going to be answering this question a lot. So if you want to answer it, you can just change this part. Instead of saying 얼마나, say 300년이 됐어요. It's been 300 years since I came here to Korea. And then the old person just kind of like, well, all right then. Have a nice day. Yeah. 한국에 온지. I'm just going to write it back here so you can make sure you get it on your notes. 얼마나. How long? So you can learn 얼마나 together with 되다 for here, but it can be used with any of the other verbs as well. Yes. You're either, the oldest person ever or, some random anime character. At least that's what I've heard. Amanda S. Jordy Kroon, how much time has passed since you came to Korea? Literally, yes. That's right. Samantha Johnson, it could go either way. Yes, you're right. And Korean's the same. So I wanted to just present that to you early so you can think about it so that when we get to the advanced portion of this lesson, you'll be ready for what I'll tell you. It's nothing complicated. It's just one of those things where you think about it, you're like, I guess that's true. We do that in English too. It's messed up. I will speak Korean perfectly after. Imagine that like you've been to Korea for 300 years and they're like, how long have you been to Korea? You're like, Hanguk. Yeah, that'd be sad. That's what happens if you go to Korea and you just hang out with other English speakers. That's a tip I'll give you. If you're going to Korea and you want to know how can you make the most of your trip for learning Korean, I won't say ignore or avoid other people who speak English because you have to interact with other people who speak English from time to time. You might need someone to help you take care of an emergency and you just can't find a Korean to help you, or you really need help, getting a contract figured out and you can't ask a Korean, or you have a friend who's already done that and they'd be happy to help you with it. You can't completely cut that out of your life. It's making things really hard for yourself. But what you can do is try to make the majority of your friend groups native speakers. Whether you're able to communicate with them a lot or not, go to clubs, go to I don't mean like bar clubs. I mean, go to like meetups, go to clubs of groups of people that are interested in the same things that you are. If you're interested in playing a certain game, board games, great. There are groups for doing that. If you're interested in photography, there's groups for that. You can find open Kakao chats for any hobby that you're interested in. Join those, talk with those people, meet up with those people and their groups in Korea. That's going to be a much, much more helpful way for you to get Korean practice than just kind of, staying at home all day, watching Korean dramas and crying while eating Korean chicken because it's so tasty and you're lonely. Okay. This next sentence, I want you to do. So I want you to make the sentence. How long have you been learning Korean? How long have you been learning Korean? Now, of course, this is going to use our form since. So the sentence you want to make is, how long has it been since you learned Korean? I guess you can say that. How long has it been? Or you can say started learning if you want. Like I said, it could be vague. But it doesn't matter. This would be how you would say, how long have you been learning Korean? You could ask literally in Korean. You can say, 한국말 얼마 동안 배우셨어요? Literally, how long have you learned Korean? This is a better way to ask it though. Koreans like using since whenever you're talking about how much time has passed. So how long has it been? Anything like that. It sounds natural to use the since form. Since. I can't speak. The sixth sense. Yes, sense. It sounds natural to use the sense form more than just literally translating the sentence that you were thinking. So anytime there's time passing, use the sense form. How long has it been since you learned Korean? So, how long you been learning Korean there? How long has it been? Let's see. Go ahead and try to make this sentence. I'm going to check some of your answers right now. Omar, welcome. 한국어 배운 지 얼마 됐어요? Perfect. Perfect sentence. First sentence also. This twice in a row that the first person to make the sentence got it right. 한국어 배우기 시작한 지 얼마 됐어? Gianna, that's wonderful. I even love that you added the 시작한 지. You don't note that you don't have to. Just with our previous one. 공부하기 시작한 지, 공부한 지. Just know one of them could be a little more or less vague. Does not mean it's wrong though. I'm going to read some of these other ones really quick. I don't want to spend too much time reading them, so I'm going to scan them really quick. Let's check out who else gave it an attempt. Nice, Danny. Bonnie. 한국어를 공부하기. Or unless you just wanted to say Korean studies, you can say 한국어 공부 as one unit. Like, well, with a space, but as if it's one word, like Korean studies. Since you started your Korean studies, that would work too. Laura, 한국어 배우기 시작한 지 얼마나 됐어요? Nice. No, just keep in mind there's a space between the 지 and the rest of the words. So yeah, just keep that in mind. The reason is without a space, it is a different form technically. Okay, Ayakata. Hey, Ayakata, haven't seen you in a while. Although I haven't done a live stream in a while, so yeah. Oh, okay, Jordy. Jordy's trying to do something fancy. You're trying to add 정도, about how long. Okay, if you're saying 얼마나 and you want to say 정도, it actually becomes 얼마 정도. So it doesn't become 얼마나 정도, but those combine to form a new word, 얼마 정도. Well, two words, but actually I think it's two words. Let me double check. I think there's a space there, but let me just double check. 얼마 정도. Yes, there's a space. Okay. I knew it. I can say that now that I got it right. If I got it wrong, I'd be like, I knew it. It shouldn't have a space, right? But I'm correct. So I get to pretend like I knew it all the time. 얼마 정도. So yeah, this is how about. 정도 is like about, approximately. So this is like about how long has it been? Nice job. Let's read the rest of these. See, 얼마나 됐어요? Nice. I'm not saying all your names. I am reading all of them though. Nina, you wouldn't use the progressive tense like you are learning Korean, but simply the regular verb, action verb stem in the past tense adjective form. So 배운지, not 배우고 있는지. The 있는지, that form would be a separate T form, which means whether or if. Like 한국어 배우고 있는지, 아닌지, 다른 거를 하고 있는지, 뭐를 하고 있는지, 자는지, 과자를 먹고 있는지, 몰라요. Like, I don't know if you're studying Korean or sleeping or eating a snack or what you're doing. Let's see here. But is it typed 얼마 동안 or no, it's typed spaced as you have it, Mary Lara. You can also check, oh, you noticed time to time. Yeah, you're going to see tons of weird writing and weird spacing because Korean natives don't know spacing or spelling, I'll say too. They don't know their own language, just like Americans don't know how their own language works either. That's why you see people write there, and there the same way. It's just, we're dumb about our own language. Unless we've studied how to teach it, unless we've gone out of our way and studied it, we don't know it. And it's the same with Korean native speakers as well. So yeah, you can always check anything on Naver Dictionary. 한국 배우기 시작한 지 얼마나 됐어요? Nice, Samantha Johnson. Okay. Great job. Everyone, great job. Such really good sentences. I liked, some of them were really creative too. So let me give you a answer. 한국말 배운 지 얼마나... Okay, now I want you to make another sentence. I know we don't really have too much time for this. How would you answer this question? If someone asks you, 한국말 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? 한국말, Korean language, 배우다, to learn. See, I'm dumb too, okay? I make these mistakes too. Don't feel so bad. 한국말 배운 지, 한국말, Korean, 배우다, to learn. So since the time when you learned Korean, 얼마나 됐어요? How long has it been since you've learned Korean? So how long have you been learning Korean? How long have you been learning Korean? So since when have you been learning Korean? Or how much time has passed since you started learning Korean? Anything like that. 한국말 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? So how long have you been learning Korean? How would you answer that if someone asked you? 한국말 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? How would you answer it? I'll give you a... Go ahead and try to answer. Go ahead and try to answer it, and then I'll give you a little hint about it. Just write it in the chat. This wasn't prepared in my outline. I just want to know. I just want you to practice with it. 한국말 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? Pretend that a native... You're just like walking down the street, minding your own business in Myeongdong. You know, you're taking photos, you're buying like random garbage food that actually no one likes and tastes bad, but tourists see it and think it's like traditional Korean food and they buy it. And the vendor's like, hee, they fell into my trap. And you buy, some of the food's that bad actually. Some of the food's good though. And you buy it, you're like eating it. And then some random guy, some random ajashi runs up to you, grabs you by the collar. 한국말 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? Like that. How would you answer in this situation? You should think about these sorts of situations because they might happen to you. What would you say? And he's like foaming at the mouth and his eyes are looking in like different directions. What would you say? You got to know how to answer this in Korean, right? It's important. Yeah, nice. K-pop World of Stands. 2년 됐어요. Amanda S. No, I'm just, just trying to find a common situation that could happen to anyone. 3년 됐어요. Nice, Jordy. 공부한 지 4년이 됐어요. Nice, Nina. Your life's at stake here. You might get rabies, but, it's about the Korean language. 제가 한국말 공부하기 시작한 지... Haven't you seen 부산행? Train to Busan? That's a documentary, Most people don't know that. Can we use 제? If you want to say I'm in my second year of studying like that. But for this form, though, you wouldn't use it with since. You could just say it's been 2 years, or it's been 3 years, or it's been however many years. No, I was not in the documentary. You see, I look completely normal. As long as you don't ask my wife, I look great, I think. I love documentaries. Yeah, it's a great documentary. Okay. So yeah, you can answer it the full way if you want. 배우기 시작한 지 뭐 2년이 됐어요. Like that. Or, as some people wrote in the chat, you could simply say 2년이 됐어요. 3년이 됐어요. 10년이 됐어요. 100년이 됐어요. It's been 100 years. You don't have to make the full sentence when you're answering because it's clear what the other person is. It's clear what the context is. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to make the full sentence when you ask and the full sentence when you reply. If you're already talking about Korean, what if someone says, wow, your Korean's great? So that guy who's foaming at the mouth, he's like, he grabs you. And what if instead he asks you, your Korean is so good. How long has it been? 얼마나 됐어요? Just asks you that. You can tell by the context that he's asking you how long have you been learning Korean, and you can respond politely, with appropriate politeness levels, in the exact same way. So you don't always need to have the full form to make the answer if it's clear what they're talking about. So you can reply politely, oh yes, good sir. I must confess that it has been now upwards of 2 years since I've begun my journey into the Korean language. And then you could say your greetings and farewell and, wish him good day and go back to your shopping. Hey, Samantha, dad break. Samantha Johnson. Thank you so much. Oops, I crossed that out. Let me write that again. $20. 20 dabs. Okay, here we go. Dab break. Oh, I didn't get music last time. We got to get some music this time. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shoo. Okay. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. 아직 멀었어요. Yeah, 잘하기는요. Yeah, you want to be humble in front of the insane zombie guy. So you can say, 뭐 잘하기는요. 아직 멀었어요. I'm not good. I still have a long way to go, So that's one way to handle the conversation. Yeah. Okay. Can I give you another sentence? Let's see. Yeah, let me give you another sentence. I want you to translate this sentence. We're way over time, but you know what? Who cares? We're doing a great job. It's been over 10 years since we got married. I'm writing it messy in English because you can read it. It's been over 10 years since we got married. So this would be how you would say, we have been married for 10 years. We've been married for 10 years. I'm sorry, over 10 years. We've been married for over 10 years. Now, you will need the other verb that I taught you. You will need a different verb for this sentence. I will give you one. 결혼하다 is to be married or to get married. 결혼하다. I wrote that really weird. Anyone who has bad handwriting, just don't feel bad. Just know that Billy has worse. In English too. Look at that. That's why Hyunwoo was making fun of my handwriting in our most recent video. It's true. I've never had really nice handwriting. Yes, 넘다. That's right. Very nice, Stars Gems. Okay, I see a few other people also wrote before that. Let's see. 지아나 도즘, 우리 결혼한 지 10년이 넘었어요. Okay, remember the G has a space, but awesome. Your sentence is perfect. Great job. 우리는 결혼한 지 10년이 넘었다. Nice. Mary Lara, yes, 됐어요. It's been 10 years. Okay, now try to make the sentence with saying it's over 10 years, but your sentence is awesome. Very good. Okay, I'm going to look at some of the other sentences here. 10년이 넘었어요. Nice, Bonnie Runsfield. Perfect. Bonnie Runsfield. Okay. 우리 결혼한 지 20년 넘게 됐나? Has it been over like 20 years since we got married? Yeah. You can also do 넘게 되다. We're going to talk about that, I believe. 넘게 might be in the worksheet. But yeah, there are other adverbs you can add here and there. And we're not going to be going over all of those in this lesson. But there are other adverbs, there are other particles you can add into this form, just like you could in any grammar form though. So I didn't really want to focus on them for this form because they're not specific to this form. 10년이 넘었어요. Nice! 결혼한 지 10년이 넘었어요. Very good, everyone. 결혼한 지 10년이 넘었네요. Hey, it's been over 10 years since we've gotten married. I like that. In this case where 이나 could be used to express the feeling of it's a lot. Yeah, 10년이나 넘었어요. It's been like over 10 years. Sure. I have a separate lesson about 이나, but yeah, 이나 is great to use in that sort of situation. When you want to attach 이나 or na, if it's after just a vowel. So 이나 after a consonant, na after a vowel, after any sort of time. And that just kind of expresses like, yeah, wow, it's been like that much. Omar. Hey, Omar, thank you. Omar, wow, awesome. Omar Manjwala. Manejwala. Is that how it's said? Manejwala. Thank you so much for the $10 donation. Let's do a short little dab party here. Get some kimchi here. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Great lesson. Correct pronunciation. Nice. Well, I have been studying. 이제 17년이나 넘었어요. 한국어 공부하기 시작한 지 17년이나 넘었어요. It's been over 17 years since I've started studying Korean. So yeah, if I'd better have decent pronunciation at this point, or I'd feel terrible. 17 years. Well, of course, you know, it depends how much you're studying in that 17 years. I have been studying a lot. Okay. So it's been over 10 years since we got married, aka we've been married for over 10 years. How would you say that in Korean? Let me give you a sentence. Oh. So for marry, it's 결혼하다. So 결혼한 지 10년 넘었어요. Again, you can see variations of this. There are other ways to say it, but this is a basic way. 결혼한 지 10년 넘었어요. 결혼하다, to get married. 지, so the time since we got married, 10년, 10 years. 넘었어요. It's over 10 years. So it's been over 10 years since we've gotten married. We've been married for over 10 years. 결혼한 지 10년 넘었어요. Okay. The next sentence I'm going to give you, and then I want you to guess for our last sentence. I'm going to have you do one more sentence after this. Although, judging by how everyone's doing, I probably could also just give you this sentence too. I'm just concerned about the time. I don't like when my lessons go too long. I like when they can finish around like 3:10. Okay. 새 옷을 산 지 오래됐어요. What is this? 오래됐어요. Let's talk about this sentence. First of all, 새 옷. Literally, 새 is an adjective, pure Korean adjective, means new. New clothes. Now, note, you won't say 새 for a person. This will be for an object. So that's if you're wondering what the difference is between 새 and 새롭다. So 새 옷을 산 지. So since I bought new clothes. So it's been some amount of time since I bought any new clothes. Well, how long has it been? 오래되다. There's not even a space here. This is one word. Well, there's a verb, 오래되다. And that literally means to be a long time. So you don't need any time word here because you can simply use the verb 오래되다 to mean to be a long time. And again, this will also be conjugated in the past tense. So it's been a long time since I bought any new clothes. It actually has. I haven't bought any new clothes. I think the last time I bought any new clothes was last November in Korea. I bought some long sleeve shirts and they're wonderful. I love them. If you're in Korea, I recommend going to the clothes store and just buying some clothes. You'll love them. There's so many cool clothes you can get. And they'll be like, matched with the seasons and stuff. Okay. 새 옷을 산 지 오래됐어요. So it has been a long time since I bought new clothes. Or you could say, I haven't bought any new clothes in a long time. That's fine too. Okay. This last sentence for this section, we have another section to go. The last sentence is, I want you to make this sentence. It hasn't even been 2 years since I came to Korea. Now that sounds long, but let me write it down. I think you can do it. And I'll give you some tips. So since I came to Korea, well, you're going to be using the form we already talked about, the other sentence. I'm not going to say it, but we already have the verb came, 오다, to come. 2 years, you can do that. Since, you can do that. But here's the different part that we have. It hasn't been. It hasn't even been. So, to say it has been 2 years, you would use 되다, so past tense, 됐어요, right? Or 되었습니다, 되었어, anything like that, 됐어. Whatever you want to say, whatever tense you're using, whatever, verb ending you're using. But to say it hasn't been, all you do is you make it negative. So this is going to be negative. Okay? No big deal there. Even. It hasn't even been 2 years. Even 2 years. Even. Well, there's a simple particle in Korean. What particle in Korean can you think of that means even? And where would it go? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you the particle. I'll just tell you, you know it. You probably know it. It is what you might think. You might be thinking, what? It was this particle? I guess that means it's right. It's that particle. That particle can mean even. Now think where you would put it on the sentence. So if you're making this sentence and you're a beginner or you're doing this form for your first time, I would focus on this part and then add even at the end. After you've made the sentence, then think, where should I put even? Give it a try. It hasn't even been 2 years since I came to Korea. So this would be how you would say, I haven't even been here for 2 years yet. I haven't even been here for 2 years. So it hasn't even been 2 years since I came to Korea. How would you make that sentence? Okay, let's see. Oh, I meant your pronunciation of my name was perfect. Thank you, Omar. I just read that now. Omar Manejwala. Manejwala. I'm sure that's 100% perfect. It is now. That's the official way to say it. Okay. 2년. Very close, Gianna. I know you've been getting a lot of these sentences. The first sentence. You are so close, Gianna. So close. Just a small little typo there. Small little typo. Not onji. That's true. That was a spacing issue. A small little typo. Let me see if you fix it later on. No, I don't see it yet. Okay. Very close though. Awesome. 한국에 2년이. Okay. Close. Sue, amazing. Close. Then the sentence order would be incorrect. You'd want to say 한국에 온지 first. Okay, let me check some other sentences. 2년도 안 됐어. Nice, Mary Laura. Mary Laura got the first perfect one, although I will say Gianna's was like 90% there. 2년도 안 됐어요. Nice. Nina Perez. SK. 2년이 안 됐어요. Okay, if you don't add the to, if you don't add the even, your sentence is still fine. It's still correct. It doesn't have the extra added meaning of even 2 years, but you could still say, it hasn't been 2 years since I came to Korea. Perfect sentence. 2년도 안 됐어요. 2년도 안 됐어요. Nice. I'm reading your sentences really quick. Let me just scan them really quickly. Jordy, 한국의 간지, typo. 한국어 would be since I went to Korean language, so you want to say 한국의 since I went to Korea. Pretty sure it's just a typo because those keys are close. 간지. And then you'd want to say the even on the amount of time because even 2 years. You could say 간지도, like since I went to Korea, it hasn't been 2 years. If in some context you could say 지도, but here you're saying even 2 years. So you wouldn't put the to there, you would put the to after the time. Give it another try, Jordy. I think you can do it the next time. 온지 2년이라도 안 됐어요. Hasn't even been 2 years. Okay. 한국, 보라굴, you're missing the 한 there, but yes, I see what you're saying. 온지 2년도 안 됐어요. Perfect sentence, 보라굴. Just typo there for Korea. 한국 is, okay, I see you put it there later. 한국에 온지. So if you said 한국에서 온지, that's also perfect. It just has a different meaning. That's since I've come here from Korea, which is fine. So it's been 2 years since I've come here from Korea. So I've been here 2 years from my, home in Korea, like that. 2년도 안 됐어요. Nice. Persian prince, sorry, 됐어요. Nice. I see that. The fix there. You're right, Nina. You don't need the E when you're using 도. That's correct. You would not use the 인연 E. The reason is E is the subject marker. But if you're using the 도 particle, that replaces whatever marker was there. So you would just be 인연 도. Perfect. 한국에 간지 2년도 안 됐어요. It hasn't even been 2 years since I've last gone to Korea. So if you could say came to Korea, it would be 온지, but 간지 sentence is perfect. Since I've gone to Korea, it hasn't even been 2 years since I've gone to Korea. 저는 한국에 간지 2주밖에 안 됐어요. 2주도 안 됐어요. It hasn't even been 2 years, or it's only been two weeks. I just came back less than 2 weeks ago, so I still have a tiny bit of jet lag, actually. I woke up last night at like 3 in the morning. I couldn't fall asleep again till like 4. Okay, let me give you a sentence, but most of you got it. Actually, a lot of you. You guys are doing excellent. I'll just say that. You guys are doing really good with these sentences. And then let's talk about this sentence for a second. 한국에 온 지 2년도 안 됐어요. So here we have 안 됐어요. So it hasn't been. And that's perfectly fine too. Just the negative. You can use 안 with any of the other verbs too. 한국에 오다. So to come to Korea. So since I've come to Korea, 2년, 2 years. 도. Here it's even. So when you're using a negative verb, you can use 도 to mean not even. So it hasn't even been 2 years since I've come here to Korea. I've only been here for 2 years. It hasn't even been 2 years since I've come here. Like that. 한국에 온 지 2년도 안 됐어요. So it hasn't even been 2 years since I've come here to Korea. Okay, we're not done though. We're not done. We are not finished. So that is all the sentences. But now let's go on to some advanced notes. Now these notes are for more advanced level. So if this is your first time learning about this form, feel free to write these down, take note, but don't stress about learning them. You can learn them later. This is for people who already know how to use this form and want to get a little more out of it. So usually, again, I'll say this again. In English, if you make the sentence, it's been 2 years since I came to Korea. It's been 2 years since I ate pizza. We understand that it means you had pizza 2 years ago and you haven't had pizza again in the meantime, right? Sure. So we know that in that sentence, since means you did something and you're no longer doing it now. You haven't eaten pizza in 2 years. It's been 2 years since you ate pizza. 피자를 먹은 지 2년이 됐어요. It's been 2 years since I've eaten pizza. Koreans the same. They understand the same thing. 한국어 배운 지 2년이 됐어요. It's been 2 years since I learned Korean. Does that mean you're not learning it again? You're not learning it anymore? Or does it mean you still are and it's been 2 years since you started? Probably means, since you're saying it in Korean, it probably means that you're still studying it, right? So it's a bit vague sometimes, and it's the same thing in Korean. If you were to make the sentence, 한국에 온 지, since I've come to Korea. Well, it means you're still here. If you say that sentence, yeah, it's been 한국에 온 지 10년이 됐어요. So it's been 10 years since I've come to Korea. Well, it means you've been in Korea now for the past 10 years. They can understand it that way. But literally, it could also mean it's been 10 years since the last time, like I came to Korea. 한국에 온 지 10년이 됐어요. It's been 10 years now since I came to Korea. Now, you can change the sentence to make it more clear which one you're trying to say, but it's usually going to be understood that you've been in Korea this whole time for 10 years. And it's the same. It's been 10 years since I've come here. Yeah, they would understand it's because you're still here. But you could clarify it after and say, oh, and I hadn't been back for 9 years. There was a 9-year gap where I wasn't even here. But 10 years ago I came and then I came again here, right? You can clarify that in English and you can clarify that in Korean. Some things, though, are assumed one way or the other depending on the verb. So, and that's the same in English. It's been 2 years since we got married. Are you still married? Yes, you are. Yeah, it's been 2 years since I got married. It could mean, though, it could mean, right? You got married 2 years ago and you're not married now, right? It could mean that. but it probably doesn't. Usually, this form is used for something that happened and is still happening. So just keep that in mind. Most of the time when this form is used, if it can be assumed this way, it will be assumed that whatever you did is still happening or still going on. Not something that you did once and never did again until now, but something that you did and still is going on or still happening, or you're still doing it. For example, like studying Korean, coming to Korea, getting married, stuff like that. If it can be assumed to be still happening, that's what they will think you mean. So if you say 결혼한 지 20년이 됐어요, it probably means you've been married for 20 years. Although literally, I guess it could mean I haven't been married in 20 years, right? Like I got married 20 years ago and then I got divorced and now it's been 20 years. You could say that, but it's probably not. They'll assume you mean something still happening. So, usually I'll say, usually this form is not used to express something that you're not doing anymore or that's no longer happening. But if you want to be clear that something is not happening anymore, so you want to clarify, no, I haven't done that in this amount of time, then you make a different sentence to make it clear. You simply say, I have not done that for this amount of time in Korean. So how do you say that? For example, if you say this sentence, 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. It's been a year since we met. If the context works, they're going to understand it as meaning, we met a year ago, we still meet now. So we've known each other for a year. It's been a year since we've first met, right? They're going to understand it that way. But if you don't mean that, you mean to say, I haven't met them in a year. It's been a year since I met them, right? In English, we have the same issue. It's been a year since I've met them. I haven't seen them in a year. Then you make a different sentence. You say, it's been a year since we've met. You would make this sentence. The key word here is 동안. 동안 means for a period of time. You can read that, right? Because I can't. For a period of time. 1년 동안 안 만났어요. Literally, I didn't meet them for a period of a year. So we didn't meet for 1 year. That's how you say it's been a year since I met them and I haven't met them since. It's been a year since we've met. I didn't meet them for a period of a year. So just say it directly. If you want it to be clear, no, this is not going on anymore. 한국어를 2년 동안 공부 안 했어요. I didn't study Korean for 2 years. It's been 2 years since I studied Korean, right? In English, it could be vague. So you want to say, yeah, I speak some Korean, but then they ask you, oh, you study Korean these days? 아니요, 저는 1년 동안 공부 안 했어요. I didn't study for a year. So that's how you make it clear what you're trying to say. And in Korean, it's the same thing, just like in English. If it's vague, just know most of the time they will assume if you use the 지 form that you're talking about something still going on. Okay, so this is the basic way to clarify that. You simply make a different sentence. You say, we didn't meet for a year. There's one more thing you can do. You can still use the 지 form in a negative sense. I'll show you. So here's one more way you can clarify that something is not going on anymore. Again, you don't really have to worry about this so much because if you just say since in context, they probably will figure out what you mean. But this is how you clarify it. Okay. Alternatively, you can just use a negative action verb stem before the 지 form. Nothing else has to change. Same form, just use a negative verb. So if you're using the verb 하다, normally you'd get 한 지, right? Well, how do you get a negative version of that? 안 한 지 1년이 됐어요. So let me give you an example. Again, if you're paying attention to this and you're kind of learning this for the first time, don't worry, this is more advanced for people who just want more in-depth information. So basic sentence, 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. So it's been a year since we've met. But you want to make it clear, it's been a year since we met. I haven't seen them since then. All you have to do, another way, one way is you can use 동안. Another way is you simply make the verb negative. 안 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. So now you have literally this sentence. The time since we haven't met has now been a year. Do you get that? So now you're saying it's been a year, but not the time since we've met, but the time since we haven't met. Right? So we've met, maybe we met before, but now since not meeting that person anymore, since not meeting them, it's been a year. 안 만난 지 1년이 됐어요. So, that's all you have to do. You have two options for when you want to make it clear that it's not going on anymore. But again, just like English, in context, it will often be clear what you're trying to say. And if they don't understand you, they're going to ask, 그럼 지금도 만나고 있는 거예요? 지금은 안 만나요? They might ask you, are you not meeting him now? You don't meet him now? And then you can say, 안 만난 지는 좀 됐어요. 이제는 한동안 안 만났어요. You can just say, 1년 동안 안 만났어요. We didn't meet for a year. Then you can clarify it afterwards. So don't worry about this. It's just if you want to go the extra mile and know how to clarify. So that's all you have to do. Isn't that easy? Isn't that really simplistic? So again, in summary, you don't really have to worry. It'll be clear what you're talking about by the context. But if you want to make it clear, you can use 동안 with negative sentence, like we didn't do something, 동안, for that amount of time, or just add a negative verb before 지, and you get the same thing. Don't change the rest of it. Don't say 안 됐어요. Don't change the rest of it. Same form, just with a negative verb. 한국어 공부를 안 한 지 10년이 됐어요. 10년이 넘었어요. It's been over 10 years since I've studied Korean. I don't remember anything anymore. Like that. 많이 까먹었어요. So you might hear that sentence, like maybe someone older, they're on TV being interviewed, and they're like, 한국말 잘하시는데 왜 그렇게 잘하세요? Your Korean's so good. How come it's so good? 저는 옛날에 한국말 공부했었는데 이제 한국말 공부 안 한지는 10년이 넘었거든요. Like they might say, it's been like over 10 years since I've studied Korean. I haven't touched it since. Like they would say it with just a negative verb. So I don't do a great impression of an older man, but give me another 10 years and then I'll do a much better one. Okay, so that's all the lesson you need. That's everything you need to know about this form, and we are on time. I'm happy we got back on track. So yeah, that's the whole lesson. And now I am, let me give a few announcements really quick, and then I'm going to take questions. So really quick, announcements. Worksheet and outline are on Patreon. So get those on Patreon. Members of my YouTube channel get access to these live abridged, the shorter versions tonight. So you can watch this lesson in a short form tonight after this live stream is over. Make sure to join my Discord. It's open. You can see a link in the description. There's also I also posted another link in the chat that's open. Ask questions, hang out with other people. Feel free to just ramble in there. Just, don't like spam, but, talk with anyone else there. Have fun. There is merchandise if you want to support me. I have one thing pinned to the chat, a sweatshirt, but there's also some more stuff in there. Check it out. There's some cool stuff, even a couple things that my wife designed. And the live stream schedule will be 2 live streams in a row and then 1 live stream off. So 2 weeks in a row and then 1 break and then 2 weeks and 1 break, like that. That's all the announcements. Gray, thank you, Gray. I got one more donation by Gray. I think you might be the first time you've donated. I don't recognize your name, but thank you so much. If you have before, I apologize. I haven't done live streams now for 3 months. Great. 5 dabs for you. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I can take questions now. Questions can be related to the lesson, or they can just be related to anything in Korean, of course. Bonnie Rusfield, that was an amazing lesson. Really missed the Sunday lives. 수고하셨습니다. Thank you. 와주셔서 감사합니다. Thank you for coming. SK, thank you for the class. You're welcome. Thank you everyone for coming. Again, I'm doing a Q&A right now for the next 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. If you only wanted the lesson today, then you're free. Let's see. Bora Gul asks, is this also correct? 한국에 온 지 2년 이하 됐어요. You would say 2년도 안 됐어요. It hasn't even been 2 years. Can we also do next lesson intermediate? I think, Paulina, I think that the other lesson options that are coming up are also both intermediate. So yes, you will get your wish. The next 2 lessons, I think, will both be intermediate. And after we finished all of the lessons on the voting, then we'll go to some new lessons, which are also requested by members. If you have a request for a lesson you'd like me to do, leave it in my Discord channel, and we will get to it. Members have priority for that. So if you're a member and you make a request and I haven't already done a lesson about it, there's a higher chance I'll do it. Now, I can't promise I'll do everything, or maybe your idea is just terrible. But if it's a decent idea, I haven't done it already, then yeah, I'll get it as a lesson. So we will definitely do it. Paulina asks, have I seen the new Blackpink video? No, I haven't kept up to date with what's going on with the K-pop world lately. I've been really busy editing videos. I was in Korea, and then I'm editing lots of videos. Yeah, no terrible ideas allowed. Mary Laura asks, what's the difference between using ton and simply using the past tense? I have a full live stream about that because that's a huge topic. If you're talking about using it as an adjective, it's completely different. But the really short version is ton is something more in the past that doesn't go on something that had happened, and the regular past tense is just something that did happen. So it's for talking about things more in the past, but there's more to it than that. I would recommend watching my full live stream about ton. I think it's called More Past Tense, and you can find it in the full live streams playlist or in the abridged live streams playlist. There's a short version, so check out either of those. K-pop World of Stans asks, do you think it's helpful to watch K-drama? I would recommend variety shows over drama, but whatever you're watching, no matter what you're watching, you should be watching with subtitles on in Korean. You should be trying to follow along. You should be writing down notes of words that you're seeing. It should be study material for you as well as entertainment. So maybe watch it once, just the regular way with English subtitles, and enjoy it. Have popcorn, get like a soda, lie down in bed, watch it on the TV, lights out. But then the second time you watch it, please turn on Korean subtitles. Don't watch English subtitles. Have a notebook, put on your study cap, treat it as material and learn from it. Then you're good. Whatever you're using, that's gonna apply. Omar says, one last thing might be fun to learn is 라니. 그런 거라니. I did a lesson actually about ni, but yeah, that would be kind of a separate thing. It's not really a special form. I'm not sure if I actually already did a lesson about that. I'll put a note, but I think I might have already done a lesson about that before. So yeah, check out my channel, though. I might have a lesson about that already. Amanda, glad to have you back. Thanks for coming. Oh, we got another donation. Rushing War. Rushing War, thank you. Thank you very much for the $5 donation. Let me give you 5 dabs, and then I'm going to read your message. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've been struggling with memorizing new vocab, even though I'm using Anki Dex. Do you have any suggestions to help, or should keep trying? There might be an issue with the Anki deck you're using. Okay, I'll say this about Anki or Memorize or any of those decks. They are only as useful as you made the decks where you know how the words are used. If you're doing an Anki deck and it gives you animal names, well, those are simple. Donkey, 당나귀, I think they say in Korean, yeah, is that animal. You know what the animal looks like. You know the Korean word, you know the English word, great. Anki works fine, or memorize works fine for that. When you start talking about simple verbs, 만나다, sure, to meet. It could also mean dating, but basically you understand that concept. There are going to be so many words and verbs, though, that don't really match exactly with English, or that maybe have similar words as you know in English. You have to not only know, you have to have a really good definition for that word in English. In fact, I usually just copy the Korean definition above the English definition so that I really know what the word means, because there are so many times when it just doesn't match up with Korean. I would recommend making your own deck and not using someone else's, because then you know where you saw that word. You can even write down a sentence example in the card. You can write down the definition as you know it. So, for example, the definition in the dictionary might just say like, trying to think of a good example. Okay, dog. 강아지 and K can both mean dog. So you want to learn 강아지 and you write down puppy. But actually, that's also the word they use for a regular dog too. So you could write that in your notes. Literally like puppy, but people use this to just mean dog. So you could write that in your notes. You know it means that. Whereas if you copy someone else's deck, it might just say 강아지 means puppy. And then you hear other people say 강아지 for a big dog. And you're like, what? That means puppy. I'm confused. It's going to be more helpful when you know how to use those words yourself. So make sure whatever you're using, you have your own sentences that you found. You have your own definition that you understand completely, maybe the Korean definition. That way, when you see that word and you see the definition, you know that's how it's used. That's what it means. Not, I'm just matching a word with a word, because that's useless. Okay. Let's read some more questions. Raleigh asks, do you know Spanish? No hablo español. No. Memorizing new vocab is mainly about frequent use and getting used to it in every context. Yeah. Frequent use is the best way to memorize it. To initially get a lot of vocab, it's fine to do like Anki, but it's true, if you're not using it, it's just torture. And I'm doing that right now too. I am going through my own Anki deck and I'm reviewing words. It's about 60, 70 words a day I'm currently reviewing through. It doesn't take that long. It's like less than 20 minutes a day. But then I make sure that I know how to use all those words. And if I look up a word in Anki deck and I feel like it's just matching a word with a word, I'll always go in Naver and check out the sentences and make sure I've got it. Or else it's just wasting my time to learn a word that I don't know how to use. And just be honest with yourself. Am I actually going to use this word? Is it possible for me to understand this word? Like, is it some really specific word? Like I have a 난용종. It's breeding for the purpose of breeding eggs. Like I got that from a book, so I can use that, right? I'm a Korean teacher. That's a word I can get. But if I was a beginner and I came across that word, I would just delete it from my deck. That's kind of a useless word for the time being. I would put it in later if I see it again, I would put it in. But if I just saw it once and I come across that word, like something really specific, just like delete it. Okay. Let's check some more comments. I can take a couple more questions, maybe 5 more minutes. Again, everyone, thank you so much for coming. The lesson is over, but we're still doing a short Q&A now. 건강하세요. 다음에 또 봐요. See you, Bonnie. Using my own catchphrase against me. How dare you? Sue Amazing asks, if we change 얼마나 to 얼마. 얼마나 would be the adverb that means how long, for time. 얼마 would be when used in combination with other things. So like 얼마 동안, for how long. 얼마 정도, about how long. But if you're simply saying how long, it has to be 얼마나 as the full adverb. So you don't need to learn 얼마 as a separate phrase. 얼마 would be only a separate phrase when you're asking how much is something. 얼마예요? What's the price? How much is it? But for any other word, memorize 얼마 in conjunction with that other word. So like I said, 얼마 정도, 얼마 동안, like that. Let's see. 얼마나 measures things like, oh, I see. Someone else was answering their question as well. Noelle asked, do you think it's useful to put videos in half speed for Korean? Does that lower the effectiveness? No, it doesn't lower the effectiveness. Go ahead. The only issue you might have is what if a character is speaking slow and then they're gonna sound like this. They're gonna sound like ugly Sonic. So yeah, as long as they're speaking normal speed and you slow it down, that's fine. Let's see, any other questions? Just reading some of your comments here. You guys are talking amongst each other as well. Georgia asks, what's a good website for Hanja meetings? I just use Naver Dictionary for everything for Hanja. Now I have a separate book for Hanja as well. I actually have a few books for Hanja. But if I'm just looking up the meaning of Hanja, how to write it, I just would go to Naver Dictionary 100% of the time because it's really fast. It has all that information right there. If I need to know like ancient ways characters were written or original meanings of characters, like more in depth than what Naver has, then I have a separate book for that. But that's just for my curiosity. I like to know that stuff, but it's not really essential. And Naver actually is better these days. It does have a lot of that stuff as well. A lot of Hanja, it'll have the origin of it, where it came from, why it's written this way. So most of the time I don't even need to pull out my book anymore. I usually just pull out the book when it's when I want to confirm. Like if Naver doesn't have something and I want to find out, well, does my book, and usually it'll match, my book doesn't have it either, or that Naver will have it and my book will have the same thing. It's just more of a second reference. I don't really need it for the information though so much. Just Naver Dictionary is so good these days. Georgia says, visit Greece once, you'll love the food. I love Greek food and I've never been to Greece. Okay, that's how good Greek food is. If I ever could visit Greece, believe me, I would have already. I would love to visit there. It's just, I can't. Like, we can't go there. That's the problem. The food's amazing. In fact, I'll go as far as to say every country in the world has good food, except Britain. Every country has their own like special great food out there. Like your Turkish food's great, Greek food's great. Yeah, of course, Korean food as well. Come to Poland. You can. Poland would be cool to go to. That's, you know, my mother's side of the family is originally from that area. So yeah, maybe I can go back there and connect with my roots. And they're like, who are you? Get out of our country, you freak. I'm just like going to Poland. I'm like, hey, I think I'm from here. Yeah. That's probably not the best way to enter Poland at the airport. In customs. Okay, let's see. Let's go eat tacos in Mexico. I would love to do that as well. I'll go down to Tijuana someday. Get some tacos. Sounds perfect. Don't say German food. German has great food too. Germany has amazing food too, okay? Now, I know some of the stuff in every country is like, what is this? But no, like German, I've been to, they actually had in Korea, in Suwon, where I was staying last time. It's gone now. It closed a couple years ago. But there was a German restaurant run by a German couple that had real German food in Korea in a smaller city called Suwon. It's kind of like, you know, a suburb area. And it was good. It was like really simple. Nothing fancy. It was like sausage, a sauerkraut, a couple other sides. It was very simple. Not Korea friendly. That's probably why it shut down. It was expensive and good. Currywurst. Yeah. That's amazing. Noel asks, how's my brother's Korean these days? It's probably mostly gone, except for reading a little bit. He can still read some of the alphabet. Believe it or not, he can still read some of it. But he's forgotten most of it. That was years ago, and I haven't met with him for teaching Korean. I've seen him, of course. I haven't taught him Korean in a long time. Let's see. Ivana Madden asks, so I want to say it's been 7 months since I haven't lived in New York City. So what you mean is, in English, we would just say, yeah, I haven't been there in 7 months. Or it's been 7 months since I used to live there. Something like that. 뉴욕 시, you don't say city, but you would say 시. So city. 뉴욕시에 안 산지 7개월이 됐어요. Yeah, it's been 7 months since I literally haven't lived there. So it's been 7 months since I used to live there. Kind of like we would maybe do some sort of like a hodgepodge English grammar when we say that as well in English, but that works fine. Swedish food is not good. Get out of here. Swedish food is great. Swedish has some awesome food. Hold on. Where's that from? Yeah. Surströmming. Surströmming is Swedish. Surströmming is incredible. I know it smells terrible. I'm not going to argue that. It has an amazing taste if you get over the smell. It is, because I love fishy things. I love anchovies. I love sardines. I actually bought 2 more cans of sardines at the store just yesterday. I like that fishy smell. And surströmming had an amazing fishy taste. It's a terrible smell. Awful. But the taste was wonderful. I would eat it again. Have you tried haggis? I have not. I would. Swedish cookies? Yeah. Every country has their good food, like I said, except Britain. Every country's got their amazing food, so let's not diss places. Do you think you'll do some street interviews again? Yes, I have 2 more videos coming up. When I filmed the last one, I actually asked everyone 3 questions. And of those, I picked the most interesting answers from each one, and I assembled them into 3 interview videos. So I've uploaded one. The next one will be next Friday, and then 2 weeks after that will be the 3rd interview video. So yeah, 2 more coming. And there's one more interview coming after that too as well, which I filmed at my fan meeting that we had back in July, very beginning of July, I think. When I did a fan meeting, I also filmed an interview video there as well. So I will put that up as well, which will be, I think, a couple months from now. So yeah, okay, that's good for this lesson. I don't want to go too long. We've had a nice, fun lesson. It was good to see everyone again. I will see everyone again on Sunday, next Sunday. After that, the next Sunday after that will be a break, so we will not have a live stream. There will be 2 in a row, followed by 1 break. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. And again, I want to say thanks to our channel supporters for today. Lisa Rolrier, Carrie, Samantha J, Omar, Gray, and Rushing War. Thank you all for your donations. And again, thank you everyone for coming and supporting and commenting, making sentences, making jokes. And I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.